a spiritual deity. Freedom and liberty and justice shall fight for you. When you fight for freedom with all your soul, take it from me. This is Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, BCB, the voice of the nation, the voice of the rising.
And here is a special announcement from the leadership of Biafra government in exile. This is BCB.
Fellow Biafrans at home and in diaspora, Happy New Year. I wish you nothing but health, wealth, and endless blessings in this new year. I know that the past year has been full of challenges, and I pray that this coming year brings brighter days for you and us all. There are two principal messages I believe are expedient in the coming days, weeks, and months. The first being the release of our brother and son, Mazi Nnamdi Okwu Kanu. And the second is achieving unity in Biafra struggle for self-determination. The release of Nnamdi should be the number one priority for every Igbo man, woman, elder, religious, political, or traditional leader in Biafra land. I want to reiterate that an injustice to one is injustice to all. Nnamdi was illegally renditioned by the federal government of Nigeria in June 2021. He was tortured, held in solitary confinement in very terrible conditions. He was eventually taken through the court processes, and the courts, including the appeal court, discharged him. That is, they found him not guilty of all charges against him. But the Buhari-led government still kept him in detention in DSS facility, in a flagrant disregard to court orders. The time has now come for all Igbos to raise their voice against this injustice and abuse of Nnamdi's human rights. We can no longer keep quiet. We must all rise and demand his immediate release. The Nigerian government must realize that nothing, absolutely nothing, will stop the continuous agitation for Biafra self-determination. It's no longer a matter of if, but when. Again, I call on Ohaneze Ndi Igbo, World Igbo Congress, and Igbo Development Foundation, and other Igbo social, cultural, and political organizations to speak with one voice and demand the immediate release of Kanu. This gross abuse of human rights and injustice against Kanu is ultimately abuse and violation of rights of all of us. Let us end this abuse this year. Let me at this juncture pay respect to our great fallen Iroko, a great Igbo leader who recently joined our ancestors, His Excellency Chief Dr. Chukwuemeka Ezeife Okwadike. May your soul rest in peace and rise in glory. I am persuaded, my brothers and sisters, especially those who have been involved in our struggle in one way or the other, that we need unity. Our purpose and our objective are one. I know that there are divergent views in relation to the direction to follow to reach our destination. But if we unite, we give ourselves the chance to appraise the options and pursue one or a combination of options together. This is the only way we can succeed. We either unite or the struggle dies, because no one individual or group can go it alone. I hope and pray that this year will bring us the presence of mind to understand the futility in continuous divisions that only dissipates our energy, and to guide us to work together, building a critical mass that will eventually drive us forward towards our destination as one, fulfilling that Igbo proverb that says, "Agbaka aka nyụọ mmamịrị, ọgba ọfụfụ." If you would like to support or reach out to us in the quest for building this critical mass and forging forward as one whole bunch, please reach me this year at pm@bgie-gov.net. I'll definitely respond to you, and together we can move the struggle forward. Thank you once again, and Happy New Year.
Fellow Biafrans, this is Rosama, and this is BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. We use this opportunity to pause and remember the Asaba massacre of 1967. In early October, between October 5th and 7th, 1967, Nigerian government soldiers in pursuit of Biafran troops entered the town of Asaba on the southwestern banks of the River Niger in present-day Delta State and massacred all male residents over the age of 10. The residents of the community had come out to the town square. Fellow Biafrans, this is Rosama, and this is BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. As 2023 comes to an end and we enter into a brand new year, 2024, we wish to use this opportunity to thank the leadership of Biafran Government in Exile, BGIE, for continuing to sponsor our program. We thank our technical support staff and our contributors, as well as those who have granted us access to themselves through interviews and opinion pieces. We also thank you, our listeners, who have stayed with us throughout these years. Thank you for believing that what we have to offer is important. Additionally, we hope that you will stay with us in the years to come. Remember to share our program with your friends on other platforms. Join us. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube and Facebook, and like us also. BCB is supported by a very small team of dedicated individuals who believe that the struggle for Biafran freedom is necessary, because we cannot remain silent while our people are being abducted, dehumanized, massacred, or disappeared, and while our cities and communities remain underdeveloped. More than 50 years after the Biafran War for survival, Nigeria continues to punish Biafrans, especially the predominantly Igbo-speaking states, by marginalizing us. Our states are poor, roads are unusable or unstable. We have no international airports to brag of. And even the so-called international airports do not see much international traffic. Our universities are poorly funded. Our youth are unemployed. A university degree no longer means anything. Our youth are constantly harassed and disappeared by prison apparatus. Our communities punished for just being in Biafra and Igbo land. In short, our people, Biafrans, particularly Igbos, have no rights, or at least none that Nigeria recognizes, although our people are being told every day that they are Nigerian citizens. It seems to me that we are being sacrificed to save the illusion of a one Nigeria. So ask yourselves, is this the country you wish to serve? Is this the country that you dreamt about? How much longer must you wait before our human rights and dignity are recognized? How is it that crude petroleum oil is extracted from our regions, our soils, and used to develop the rest of Nigeria, but our regions do not benefit from the Commonwealth? Why must we remain enslaved to the rest of that geographical entity called Nigeria? Why must Biafrans, why must Igbo-speaking Biafrans be sacrificed to maintain a nation that does not embrace them? In fact, the recent fraudulent elections in Nigeria, both at the presidential level and recently in some areas, the gubernatorial level, provide us with significant evidence that Nigeria does not recognize the rights of its citizens, let alone, or especially, the rights of Biafrans. We have a fraudulent election where even the High Court abdicated its own responsibility and granted a drug lord and fraudster with ambiguous biographical history the presidency rather than a legitimate Peter Obi. That is clear indication that Nigeria does not recognize any rights for Biafrans, especially Igbos. You know, we here at BCB, I don't want to say it, but I will say it. I hate to say that we told you, we warned you that Peter Obi would not be allowed to sleep at Aso Rock, not for one day. And it is not because he is not efficient, capable, intelligent, and ready, but simply because the Hausa Fulani oligarchs and their cronies would never let him get there. So, what has just happened? Crooked Ahmed Tinubu, Mr. Emilokon Jagaban, does not have to be Hausa Fulani, but he is their choice, and he is their weapon against those of you who believed in Obi. He has been weaponized to trample on your rights. On the other hand, you might say, perhaps his emergence is a gift to all of us, at least those of us who believe in justice, equality, and moral responsibility. Why? Because his installation into the office of president is a joke on all of you. The whole place called Nigeria. But particularly on all those people who believed that Obi would make it to Aso Rock and that Obi would save this dying nation called Nigeria. Moreover, the Nigerian High Court's refusal to honor the country's constitution and to disqualify Jagaban has helped to fully underscore the reality that you have no rights in Nigeria, that Igbos have no rights, Nigeria is bound to respect, and Biafrans have absolutely, absolutely no rights that Nigerians are bound to respect or uphold. In the midst of that sham election, Igbos were again massacred, their properties and businesses destroyed in Lagos and some northern cities. I don't have to tell you that. You witnessed, you read, you saw, you heard. You felt the fear. So clearly, the mass atrocities against us have not stopped and probably will never stop until we come to the realization or we embrace the realization, the reality that we are not safe in this contracted state called Nigeria. It is a constructed entity. Somebody sat down and put it together, stuck us together, and said, you are Nigerians. Nothing holds us together except the act of one person or a few people, the colonial administration, Lord Lugard. And so we must persist in our struggle for our rights. As Biafrans, we must persist in our struggle for our freedom. We must persist in our struggle to maintain our dignity. And we will use all applicable, legitimate, non-violent instruments to achieve our goal. We do have the right as citizens of the world, as human beings, with rights that cannot be alienated from us, and dignity to fight for our freedom and to choose where we live and who serves as our leaders. But we must do it without violence. It is therefore in this spirit that we here at BCB support Biafra government in exile's approach of nonviolence. We want to remind you again to walk away from any call to violence to secure Biafra. BCB does not support any form of violence, whether directed at us or against any other group. As such, we have spoken vehemently against violence in Biafra and even in Nigeria. We do not support the call for violence from those warmongering charlatans ensconced in Finland and elsewhere masquerading as Biafran liberators and who have now begun to confuse our people by claiming that they too are Biafran government in exile. No, they are not. They are not BGIE. BGIE, Biafra government in exile, as we have said, does not support violence. And BCB supports BGIE's nonviolent approach to liberation. the actions of these charlatans, these rogues, these warmongers have destabilized our communities. They have set our people against one another and caused sociopolitical and economic harm to our communities and to our people. Beware, we say, beware. The enemies are now among us. Be careful, because these rogues have decided to use our honorable cause, our honorable struggle for freedom, as a means of enriching themselves. True liberation is one that places the people above all else. And these charlatans have not done that. If you've not been paying attention to what's happening in Ukraine and Gaza, start paying attention. We cannot become involved in an unprepared war. We cannot be involved in another war. The last war devastated our communities, and we are yet to recover from the after effects of that war. We do not want another. But we have also protested against the genocidal war being waged against us, against Biafrans and other ethnic groups in Nigeria. We have protested against the massacres of our people by the marauding Fulani herdsmen. Most recently, in other communities, for instance, in Plateau State in Bokos, where it is indicated that close to 270, maybe approximately 300 people were killed, and so many displaced. We have called for accountability from the leadership of our various states. We call our people to put an end to the violence which they now direct against their own people. My people, you cannot help the enemy destroy you. This violence must end. This violence gains us no peace. This violence gains us no freedom. This violence gains us no security. This violence gains us no progress. We ask only that Biafrans be granted the same freedom and rights accorded to all human beings under the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights and all Africans under the African Charter. We demand that the federal government of Nigeria, which continues to insist on Biafrans remaining in Nigeria, begin to acknowledge our human rights and dignity, our right to justice and protection of the law, and our right to self-determination. We demand the same rights the federal government guarantees every group, or let us go. But we especially call on our people to recognize their own rights and dignity and work to preserve them. Remember, if you want freedom, you must work to gain it. Freedom is not easily attained. We demand nothing but freedom, peace, and security. And we hope that you will join us in this journey towards our freedom, towards the attainment of peace, and towards the attainment of security for our communities. Fellow Biafrans, this is Rosama. Let's get wiser. And in the coming year, I wish you peace. Udo Dirunu.
This is the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, BCB.
Fellow Biafrans, this is Rosama again. We've now come to the end of our program. We wish you a healthy new year. We wish you safety in this new year. We wish you peace in this new year. Here are messages of peace, of advice from other Biafrans across the diaspora. This is Rosama, and this is BCB.
ụmụnne na ụmụnna, asị m na ọ ga-adịkwanụ mma ekwuo na bekee ekwuo n'Igbo. Ana m ekele unu na-ewe ishu na ekeresimesi dị mma, ogologo ndụ na ahụ isi ike, ka anyị wee hụ afọ ọhụrụ. Anyị bịa n'afọ ọhụrụ, anyị wee ji ume ọhụrụ na ndụ ọhụrụ wee na-achụ ihe anyị na-achụ. Udo dịrị unu niile, ka nna nke bi n'eluigwe gọzie unu, chebe unu. Ana m asị unu Merry Christmas. Ndewo. Maazị Ude, PM.
Fellow Biafrans, this is Rosama, and this is BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. We use this opportunity to pause and remember the Asaba massacre of 1967. In early October, between October 5th and 7th, 1967, Nigerian government soldiers in pursuit of Biafran troops entered the town of Asaba on the southwestern banks of the River Niger in present-day Delta State and massacred all male residents over the age of 10. The residents of the community had come out to the town square in their traditional ceremonial white outfits, chanting, "One Nigeria, to welcome the soldiers. They had expected peace. Instead, the soldiers separated the men and boys from women and young children and shot all males over the age of 10. By the end of the chaos, between 500 to 700 townspeople were killed, some reports state. Others claim that the number is much higher, ranging close to 2,000. In his journal entry for that day, Major General Odumegwu Ojukwu writes that more than 1,000 Biafrans had been killed by Nigerian soldiers in the town of Asaba. Federal troops occupied Asaba for months, raping women and girls, pillaging the community, and forcibly marrying many women and girls as war trophies. What is a fact is that the people of Asaba had experienced mass atrocity. Worst of all, survivors buried their dead in mass graves where they had been killed. There were no individual burials for anyone, as was customary. The young were buried with the elderly, the poor with the titled men and elders. For the people of Asaba, this act was an abomination, not only because the dead were not given a befitting burial, but also because more than half a century later, the scar of the atrocity remains a reminder of the larger issue of Nigeria's refusal to resolve the question of Biafra. The residents of Asaba were massacred because the Nigerian government defined them as Biafrans, as Igbo, and therefore subject to extermination. This was, and still is, genocide, and would become a model for other cases of Nigeria's acts of atrocity across Biafra throughout the war. While the Nigerian government has not offered an apology, at least a reasonable one, for the Asaba massacre or similar massacres in Biafra during the war, and has not made any attempts to address the denial of human rights for Biafrans decades later, General Yakubu Gowon General Yakubu Gowon would apologize for the massacre, claiming that he was unaware of the extent of the harm done. Hear him in his own words, quote, "It came to me as a shock when I came to know about the unfortunate happenings that happened to the sons and daughters of this state, especially of this place, of this domain. I felt very touched, and honestly, I ask for forgiveness, being the one who was in charge that time. Certainly, it is not something that I would have approved of in whatever. I was made ignorant of it, I think, until it appeared in the papers. A young man wrote a book at that time," unquote. Like Gowon, many people in Nigeria and across the world are unaware of this atrocity. Many remain unaware or refuse to acknowledge the atrocity Biafrans continue to experience today. If your question is, why return to this massacre each year? Or if you're one of the ones who says, why not just forget about it? It's done. It happened a long time ago. We say it is because we do not wish to forget. That's why we return to this massacre each year. We memorialize it because we want to remember so that we may not experience another atrocity such as this. It is because we must tell our story in our own words so that the world may know us and so that the next generation will know their history and will remember their past. It is because the atrocity continues. It is because until Nigeria resolves the question of Biafra and stops atrocities such as this that have continued to plague us, we must not stop talking about it. We must remember. I am Rosama, and I am passing this story on to you that you may tell it. You must tell the story of Asaba massacre, for it too is the story of Biafra. Thank you for listening to us today. Join us next time for news, cultural, and educational programs. This is the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, BCB.
Give us the strength.